I just want to point out, we know we had a little snag with the newsletter and maybe you didn't get a chance to digest it. With that, in the newsletter that we posted just a couple weeks ago, we did mention and broadcast that we have a brand new YouTube channel. We have put a lot of our training videos and other updates in our Google Help-Iowa YouTube channel. If you're interested in learning more about the YouTube channel, I strongly encourage you to check out the welcome video that's on the YouTube channel. Let's give you a quick sneak peek of what the YouTube channel looks like. This is our State of Iowa Google Help YouTube channel. You'll notice there's a 3-minute, 4-minute video regarding welcome to the State of Iowa Google YouTube channel. Why do I encourage you to check that out? It will give you a lot of information regarding how we are implementing possible hands-on incorporation for many of our Google Doc natives, which is docs, sheets, and slides. So we have an opportunity to learn in the virtual aspect, but as well as doing some hands-on opportunities as well. When we upload these videos to Google Drive, or excuse me, YouTube, we do get some more bells and whistles, such as we get YouTube chapters. Just very similar to a long novel, you have chapters in the book where you might want to learn just a little portion of that particular Workspace app. So we have little snippets within the long videos to help determine exactly what you want to learn. Not only that, sometimes screen quality can be an issue. We do have the opportunity of a high definition and transcript, closed captions, and you can see there is a plethora of videos here. Not only the most used Google Workspace apps, we do have that, but we also have little updates such as the new emoji reactions in Google Docs. So I guess what I'm asking you, if you are the lifetime learner mindset, which you're here today, so that's a great sign, I strongly encourage you to subscribe and make sure you get those notifications in your Chrome browser when a new video is updated on our State of Iowa Google Help website. So definitely subscribe, review, and start learning on our channel. Now let's go into the fun things of why most of you are here. Is you want a quick summary of all the updates within Google Workspace. Well, how we're going to break this down today is we're actually going to divide it out by app for the most part. So our first app that we're going to dive into is Google Calendar. So let's go ahead and discuss Google Calendar and some of the updates. Before I do that, I'm going to grab my little laser pointer. So the very first update, again, is the pull-down menu on the Create button. Many of us may or may not. I use the Create button more than anything. Is I will go up to the top left-hand corner in the Google Calendar and click the Create button. In the past, before this update, you didn't have all these options, such as event, focus time, out of office, task, and appointment schedule. So now when you click the Create button, you have all these options to determine what requests you need to do. Do you need to create a focus time, out of office, etc.? So that drop down is very beneficial for you. Before I navigate, this is a pretty simple update in the sense, pretty easy to describe. Some of these updates are not. So with that being said, I just remind you at the bottom left-hand corner or throughout the slide, if I wanted to learn about this particular update, I would click on the button down here and I would find out more resources for you. To make this slide deck easy for me to create, this is just a screenshot. It is not a hyperlink. So if you want to learn out more, just go ahead and click on the button with the arrow, and that will navigate to more resources for that particular update. So again, I won't mention it again, but that is the power of this training, is that you can always learn more as we give a quick summary of each one of these updates. With that, the next update is right-click some more. Some of you may have been in my training. I always say that, right-click, and right-click some more. It is a shortcut for a reason. You have a new right-click shortcut in Google Calendar. When you right-click on an event, you have quick and easy ways to update a few things, such as RSVP. You can see in the screenshot, you can right-click on an event and you can RSVP. Are you going, etc. You can join the meeting directly and delete and change events. As we know, right-click will always adjust depending on what the event is. So keep in mind this screen will probably change, but please make sure you might want to definitely try the right-click on the event, then trying to open the event up or even pull it up in full screen. So it gives you a less click option, which less clicks means less work. So definitely check out that right click in Google Calendar. This is more of a robust, complicated way to articulate update. That was a really long sentence. Not even sure I was accurate. But appointment schedules is a new feature in Google Calendar. Some of you may be familiar with appointment slots. This particular update is not going to be useful for many of you, but it might fall in the 20% bucket. So what this does is, let's actually put it in a business need. Let's pretend I am a manager and I want to schedule evaluations on Friday. That's what I want to do. And I have like 5 or 6 people underneath me. I don't want to send out calendar invitations to all of my subordinates. I just want to, hey, this is my booking page, sign up and go from there. Much like getting your hair done, right? This is the time slots to your hairstylist is available. I want to take that particular time slot. It's only a one and done kind of thing, like only one person can sign up. So with that, it's like a professional booking page. So what it does give benefit to, though, you do not have to have a Google account to actually sign up. Okay. So think of it maybe in the education realm too, is parent-teacher conferences. Every parent is not on the same platform, right? So it can allow non-Google Workspace users to actually book so-called an appointment with that area, that person that you want to. This is one that if this seems like, oh, this might actually solve one of our business needs, this is where I'm going to say, watch these 2 videos and check out more as you go through. There's a lot of information regarding this, and I have made sure I found 2 valuable resources regarding appointment schedules. So check that out if that is something that might work for you. The other thing is we're going to talk about Google Calendar and Google Task. This is where we need to realize that Google Workspace likes to work together within our apps. And this is a prime example. Calendar and Task are friends, right? They're besties. They work together really well. Actually, we can incorporate and add Gmail in there as well. But in this particular demonstration, we're going to just focus on Google Calendar and Google Task. Google Task is maybe one that you're not using frequently. This is where I would encourage you to check it out. Google Task is an app that's on your sidebar in your Gmail and Calendar. It is what you would do, consider it your to-do list, right? What do you need to do today? You can make multiple lists. Many of us fall into multiple hats, right? What is your project you're working on? You can make different lists for Project A, Project B, and Project C. Task is one of the apps that has grown a lot in the last year and a half. So definitely, I think we'll see more to come. And you can kind of get a sneak peek of some of the updates today that has happened in the last 2 quarters. With that little verbiage, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the very first update regarding Task and Calendar. In Google Calendar, you can have set up tasks to repeat. An example, you need to do a status report for Project A, and you have to do a status report every Friday. You could set that as a reoccurring task in your Google Calendar, just like you normally do a reoccurring event like a birthday or such. You can determine how does it repeat, how long does it end, and etc. So it's very similar that we set up repeating events in Google Calendar. Now you're just setting up a repeating task in Google Calendar in the same way that you're familiar with in events. So check that out. The other one is manage overdue tasks in Google Calendar. This doesn't apply to me. I always get my tasks done on time. I wish that was the case. That is not the case. But if you're more like me, you might have an overdue task. And what happens then when you actually put a task and put a due date and you go past that due date? So for example, today's Tuesday and I was supposed to get the task done yesterday. It would appear on my all day section on my Google Calendar as it's showing in this GIF. And then it would just be that it needs to be marked complete, or actually you need to complete that task. It's up to 30 days. It doesn't, after 30 days, it's not going to appear anymore. But that is a great way to assist you because we all forget to do things. Most likely you just forgot to mark it complete, but it's a great way to give you the satisfaction of marking that task complete and keeping track of all your tasks as well. So if you do use Google Task, you will see that appear. This is a 3-folded update. I combined this in the Google Currents page and made a one video regarding all 3 of these updates. But Google Task has the capability to add tasks from chat, which I'm really excited about. Star Task, which is another really good one. And the third one is reoccurring events and day. Kind of similar to what we just talked about, but we'll just dive into each one of these individually to give you a better understanding. Keep in mind, though, when I did do the YouTube video that is on our, yes, that Google Help YouTube channel, you can notice that I combined all 3 of them, but it's pretty much a short video if you want to learn more. But let's go ahead and dive into those individually. So the first update of those 3 is Google Task Updates, add tasks from chat. You may or may not know, but actually if John sent me an email and said, hey, Jessica, I need you to run a report, I have and I said email on purpose, wasn't a mistalk. I wasn't talking wrong, I talked wrong there. But if I actually got an email from John and said, hey, John's asking me to do something, there is an option in email, in Gmail, to add an email to task. That's huge because a lot of times the email is has all the content of that task in hand. Well, since we're transitioning more into chat, and that's kind of our most daily use of communication, I can tell you, I don't remember the last time I really typed an email to John. I usually just communicate to him in chat. Sometimes John will send me the same thing via chat. Please, Jessica, can you run those reports? That's a task, right? So now in Google Chat, I have the capability of, just as the GIF is showing, click on it, you'll see the 3 dots. As we know in Google land, 3 dots means ... Google has more for you. Once you click on the 3 dots, you will have the option to add it to task, and which that's available in your sidebar. And just in case you're unaware, you can access chat both in your new integrated view inside Gmail or in chat.google. So feel free to make sure you check that out. So that's a really good benefit of using Google Tasks, because a lot of times chat communication provides us things we need to do. The other one is mark your important tasks with a star in Google Tasks. So if you kind of go back, yes, I'm speaking in Gmail world right now. Many of us might organize our emails and star an email because it's important to you. The thing is Google's providing you many ways to organize your life. Many of us organize our email, our Gmail, or chat, or Drive, all in different ways, right? Google just wants to be more consistent. And this is one of those examples in Google Tasks. If you star an email that's important, you kind of use that same feature. Same thing applies in Google Task. You have the capability of starring an important task. So you have to determine what's important. If my boss sends me a task, it's probably higher priority than John. No offense, John, right? So if Corey's asking me to do something, I probably should jump on that first, right? So then I would maybe want to star that. Sometimes also, many of us have multiple hats. I'm kind of fall into that bucket. I do different things. So I might have a list for Okta, might have a list for Google Team, might have a list for project investments. With that, I can star each individual in those lists. And when I use the filter option in Task, it will bring me all the starred tasks that fall into any of those buckets or lists that I have. So a nice feature in Google Task, because many of us like to star things, and sometimes it just needs to be moved to the top and a way to quickly filter. So a really nice feature. The next one's kind of a repeat, but just Google's providing you consistency. So we already talked about reoccurring tasks in Google Calendar, right? So in the example of the status report due on Friday, need to do it on such and such time. Google is just providing you consistency, and you can do the same thing in the Google Task app as well. So the Google Task app can be found on your sidebar, so be aware of that. You can also download Google Task on your mobile device, so be aware of that if that is something you want to incorporate as you're working remotely. So with that, those are some of the updates with that. The next app that we're going to dive deeper in is in chat. Just a reminder, you can access chat through your Gmail in the integrated workspace view, or you can go to chat.google and access it there. Or what I would also think of it as going to the waffle, the top right-hand corner, and clicking on the chat app. You can access chat either way. So be aware of that as we talk about the next updates regarding Google Chat. One of the first updates we have is quicker access to more workspace integration in Google Chat. I don't like that sentence. But what that really means in layman's terms is when you're in a chat space, you have the capability of adding all these options right here. Drive, calendar invite, create a new doc, create a Google Sheet, and create a Google slide. So you have some team concepts that you can do in a Google space. If it is an individual direct message or a group message that doesn't fall into the space, you will see the following two options, which is add a drive file and calendar invite. So don't think that it's something wrong when you're trying to create a doc on the go on a direct message. This is not how it works, but it does definitely work within Spaces. If you're not using Spaces, Spaces is a really good, is formerly known as Rooms, a tool to work with your teams and chat and keep everybody informed. So, so keep that in mind as we continue on these Google Chat updates. This one is powerful. This goes back to the whole concept. You can see Google is trying to help you stay consistent within your apps, and it depends on how you stay organized. So mark as unread or mark as read in Google Chat. Many of us use that same concept in Gmail. I know if John does send me an email and I just don't want to digest it completely right then and there, I might skim it, and then I might go back and mark it as unread. And then really when I'm ready to focus on that email that John sent me, I will then look at it and then actually be considered read in my mind. Well, the same thing goes with chat. You now have the capability of doing the same thing, mark as unread or mark as read in Google Chat. This is a really good update. This is one of the ways I function in my email, so I want to use that same concept in chat. So be aware of that you can now just hover over the message and you will see the same icon as mark as unread or mark as read. And you could do it in both Spaces or direct messages or group messages, which is really nice because then you come back and it'll have a big horizontal line if you marked it as unread. And so now you can go back and review that content that you marked unread when you have time to review that content in greater detail. So this is another great feature, improved editing experience in Google Chat. And what this means is you can see in the example here, you see you all at the workshop next Wednesday. It's emphasized in bold, meaning that you can actually put some formatting elements inside Google Chat now. So you can emphasize certain words. So in this case, you could still use the famous shortcuts that we're familiar with, such as Control-B as in boy, Control-U, which is underline, italicize, and etc. Right? We're used to that. You can always use those shortcuts to give some formatting elements. But you can also, if you're not familiar, don't like your keyboard shortcuts, you have the other option, which is the A, which is very similar to what you've seen in Gmail to edit text elements. So you can do that. Not only do you have those options, you can get even fancier if you choose to, and start using the tool Markdown formatting. We'll talk more about that as we talk about Google Docs. But if you really want to be more advanced, you can learn Markdown formatting. It is here. Markdown formatting is an example. Let's say stick with this Wednesday right here that's bold. If I wanted Wednesday to be bold and not use Control-B as in boy or use the A, I can use the Markdown elements, which in that Markdown language, and I can just type in an asterisk before Wednesday, type in Wednesday, asterisk, and it would automatically make it bold, but the asterisks won't show there, okay? There's a lot of different ones. I don't want to try to expect you to remember that in an audio format, but I do ask that you definitely check out the Google Help. You can also see this is another example of a markup where you can do inline and block, which just kind of stands out when you do that. So you can just show off to your coworkers since you attended this, and definitely check out the Markdown formatting. I think it's just one of those things we got to get used to. I think the more I use the same ones over and over again, it'll make things a lot easier. And you'll learn it in Google Docs as well. Slightly different. Oops. The next one is delete a chat message. For any of those that were actually know anything, oops, I did it again. It comes from a 90s song. But anyway, I think it's funny because we've all typed a message in the wrong chat. Maybe you haven't. I'm sure I have. Or you maybe well, this is really accurate. I just might have jumbled and make no sense or typed in large caps, right, John? So with that, maybe you just want to delete and start over, right? So with that, you can actually delete a message if you want to. But I have to be very clear and make sure you understand that even if I did rant and rave to John about my day, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should have sent that. John could have still maybe read it, right? He still could have. But maybe even if he read it or not read it, I can still delete the message. I'm the author of that particular message. Okay. But it does not mean it's gone forever in the sense of discovery. Any deleted or updated chat is always discoverable. So it's just cleaning out the kitchen or cleaning out that bucket that you just maybe want to remove that maybe not so good message, right? But it is still, that's why there's a stop sign, still discoverable in Vault. So you did not hear it from me that if you delete a message, it's gone forever. It's not gone forever. It's still discoverable in our Vault. And you can see the messages that you get here, what you have available when you delete. So the other thing is you can now create a chat space. Remember that team concept, that team environment in chat. So formerly known as rooms. So, okay, that's new to you. In a Google chat space, you can enable discovery. How would you do this? Via link. Let me be very clear on that. Discovery via link. Let's say I create a space called GoogleHelp-Iowa.gov, right? Like, let's create it. Like, anybody want to learn more about Google? Well, I really don't know who wants to be part of this chat space. Maybe someone emailed me, hey, John said, hey, Jill is really interested in this space. He could go into that chat space, get the link, and send that link to her, and she can join via link, right? It has to be State of Iowa, Google State of Iowa user. So this doesn't work. You have to have a Google account and have to be part of the State of Iowa organization. So that doesn't work for all our buckets for the state of Iowa, right? But if it's definitely in the same agency, this would be a very good feature for you. Okay, so be aware of that if that's something that you're interested in. The other thing that you may have noticed is that if you created a Google space, which I created many spaces when they were first launched, I am the manager of those spaces. So manager is just similar to like kind of the admin of that space. Not a lot of different bells, not a lot of roles in that particular area, but it is something they're probably going to grow on. So just be aware that you may be a manager. You can add more managers. So for example, the Google Team space that we have, I might want to add John as an additional manager or Chad, right? You can see the roles that the manager has, pretty much basic improvements, but like space description, try to help keep guidelines. So if the space does get kind of out of control, you can have more safe environment in there. So just be aware of that. I don't really see this as being a huge thing right now. I do think it's going to change down the road. A new idle status in Google Chat. You may have noticed a new orange icon when you're chatting with somebody. What does the idle status in Google Chat actually stand for? It is when you've been inactive in Gmail or, again, Google Chat for 5 minutes, your status will change to idle. There are several status icons that you may be aware of. The most common one is green is active, do not disturb, away, and now you have the new one called idle. It does take some time to adjust, but it's important as you look at this matrix to understand what the status actually means. Right now, I strongly encourage you do not disturb when you do not want to be disturbed, because right now it will mute my notifications. So as a presenter right now, I don't want to be like, what's going on? Like you interrupted. So definitely have some quiet time. Definitely turn on do not disturb. Speaking of statuses, this is a nice feature. I like this. With that, this one is view additional calendar statuses in Google Chat. So let's go into the examples of the screenshot. Trainer 13 marked herself out of office in Google Calendar. So she went to Google Calendar, chose the option in the drop down of out of office. She made a conscious decision to mark herself out of office on that particular day. I wanted to chat her, right? So let's say it's today. She went in there, she's out of office today, she's gone. Now I want to chat Trainer 13 and see, hey, have you worked on this project? When she has done the proper best practices to mark herself out of office, it also gives me, as the person that wants to work with her, a visual indicator that she is out of the office. Well, if she's out of the office, I don't expect to hear from her, correct? So not only that, do I get it in the status option, you get it also in Gmail and even in Docs comments, but you can see there's also a line underneath that out of office, or in that chat, that she is out of office and will be back at 1 p.m. So it gives you a description of when she plans on being returning. So that gives you, hey, I'll touch base with her after 1 o'clock today. The other option you have is focus time. Now, I used this the other day, and I think people just ignored it. I was really trying to focus on this presentation, and people were still chatting me left and right. The option to focus time is you marked yourself focus time in Google Calendar. You were like, I need time to focus. And that's the thing with chat now. Like, we're all constantly being bombarded, right? And sometimes we just truly need to focus and not have the squirrel syndrome and go into the next thing, right? So if we put yourself in focus time, it gives a visual indicator that, hey, she's trying to focus, he's trying to focus, maybe I should interrupt her. Or if I am interrupting her, I should be understanding that, hey, she's working, he's working on something. So if you need that less disruption, at least mark yourself focus time. And that's part of your time insights in Google Calendar as well. And you're talking to your coworkers. So you're definitely communicating more effectively by using the out of office feature and the focus time, right? So be aware of that. That's a really nice feature. So the next one, you're like, what is she talking about? I don't even know of an app called Smart Canvas. Don't worry, I decided to add this last minute because I think it makes sense to put it in now. Smart Canvas is something we're going to talk about a little bit here, but it's also a lot of Google Docs updates. But there is some vocab that you need to be aware of. So let's just dive into what is Smart Canvas, and we'll talk more. What is Smart Canvas? So you maybe have seen some marketing materials from Google, maybe you have not, but Google has been talking a lot about Smart Canvas for the last year. I haven't, as a trainer, have not really talked much about it because it hasn't really rolled out in the way that I expect completely yet. But now we have a lot of the bells and whistles, and I want to start talking about it a little bit more. Smart Canvas is a new product experience that delivers the next evolution of collaboration for Google Workspace. Just means it's got more efficiency for 2 heads are better than 1. So really, in a layman's terms, that's how I would describe it. And it's true, 2 heads are better than 1, 3 heads are better than 1. And now Google's just finding more intuitive ways for us to collaborate. And so that's really what Smart Canvas is, ways to incorporate what we already know and then learn even more and collaborate. So that's what we're going to discuss next. You'll see a lot of these are Google Docs and Google Sheet updates. So I'm just trying to give you an introduction to Smart Canvas. I believe this will be my next targeted training as I upload videos onto the YouTube channel. But if you aren't really interested, that was the 1-minute marketing video. You can check it out from Google when they started launching the Smart Canvas concept. So collaboration is actually one of my most favorite words. And how does it make it more flexible and helpful with this idea of Smart Canvas? So here's some other terminologies and vocab. I promise there's no quiz. But with that, building blocks is one of them. Okay, that's a vocab. We'll talk about all these in a minute. Smart chips is another new vocab that you need to be aware of as more of these tools are added to our Doc Natives and our other part of Google Workspace. Drop downs is another one that's kind of common, but now you can do drop downs in Google Docs. Checklists, both in Sheets and Docs. Pageless format, give you more real estate. We'll talk more again. And some coming soon that you are not aware of, but I don't really have anything to show you besides what Google has marketed. These are things I can discuss because it's on the Google Cloud website, but there is going to be more coming, such as timeline view, voting, assign task, and Google Docs. So there's more to come. So let's dive deeper into each one of these just a little bit. Building blocks is a feature of the product that helps build. Okay, so I added the word create something. In Google Docs, you can use building blocks to insert table templates to help you track projects, files, and more. Okay, let's still maybe confused. I get it. Let's just actually show you what it is. You click on insert. In Google Docs, you will see insert table. You see product roadmap, review tracker, project assets, launch content tracker. So they're table templates. We know what templates are. Templates are something you can use in and steal and borrow and adjust, right? Well, these are ones that Google is providing you for you, and they're tables, okay? The other thing is you actually have other table or other building, you can add building blocks also, excuse me, you can add building blocks also using the search menu. You may have noticed when you create a Google Doc, you have this like gray, light gray text that says at search menu. Well, Google's trying to help you. Start using that. And I'm telling you, start using that. If you type the at symbol, you're activating the search menu. When you type in the at symbol, you're activating the search menu. And with that search menu, you have the capability in this particular slide we're talking about is building blocks. You'll see a lot of other options. So that's your homework assignment. If you have not typed the at symbol in Google Docs or in Sheets, there's some options there as well. But mostly in Google Docs right now, you will see a whole bunch of things you can do. In this case, building blocks. One of the building blocks that was introduced last year is meeting notes. I'm not going to talk much about that one today because it's not a newer one. But if you haven't done meeting notes, I would strongly encourage that. We use that for our Google Team weekly meeting. And that's a really good way to quickly add an agenda from Google Docs into a calendar and event. So those are some examples of building blocks. Here are some more examples. I'll just give you a quick run through. This is samples that I did in one of the videos on the Google Help website. But this is an example of the product roadmap. You can see that the status one has a drop down. You have related files, which is a chip. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But that's an example of a product roadmap. And that's the beauty of these tables and these examples is that you can customize them to fit your needs. Again, templates are ways to get started and really not sure how to use it. But then once you decide how you can customize it, you can do so. The last one that I just kind of showed on the screen is the launch content tracker. I did customize that one. It's just a table. Keep that in mind, but I wanted to be slightly different. I wanted to add a checklist. I wanted to add link to content. I adjusted that template to fit my business needs, which is something you can do as well. So the other vocab that you need to be aware of is smart chips. So with that, that allows a feature in a project to connect people, content, and events in one seamless experience. So in Docs, you can do it, and in Sheets, you can use people. So let's look at a screenshot, right? Let's talk about it some more. So we're using the famous at symbol, again, the search menu. You can also find this in the menu options as well. But I think the at symbol is going to be your new search menu to find some of these more intuitive tools, such as smart chips. So in this example, you'll see these are examples of people chips. This is where it searches your directory. So you can see when I typed in the at symbol, I have Jolene and Trainer 13. In Google Sheets, again, not everything is in Google Docs is in Google Sheets and vice versa. But in Google Sheets, you can add people chip as well, or use the famous at symbol and add a people chip. That's an example of a smart chip. What's another example of a smart chip is actually adding content, which in this case is files. So we're adding the files in here. You can see I'm using the at and files as one of those options. So you can start typing in a document that you're looking for from your drive. The other one is dates or calendar events. So you can see now, this goes back to that meeting note one. If you type in the at, you have the option of adding out of office or adding, a calendar invitation, or you could actually just do date options such as today's date, tomorrow's date, and so on. So again, homework assignment, type in that at sign and start having fun. So that's a smart chip. Drop downs. Went too fast. Drop downs, you can see in this GIF, is a feature that easily indicates the status of a document. We know a drop down lets you have that data validation. And one of these things is maybe progress, get started, not started, etc. Not only that, can you do a drop down and use their templates they have provided for you? You can actually customize it with your colors or your content. So drop down is another option you can use. And you can see in this GIF, they're making a new one and adjusting the colors and changing the options as it fits their needs. Checklist. You can do checklists both in Google Docs and Google Sheets, just slightly different, obviously. locations, you can actually insert, so I'll use the word format using bulleting and numbering, or you can go to the toolbar in Google Docs and add a checklist, which is nice to check that item off your list, right? I love that satisfaction. You can also add a checkbox in Google Sheets. So that's another way to track progress on a particular task in hand. I have used both of those in both apps. So you're like, okay, what's next? Pageless format. This gives you more space, more white space to collaborate. Many of us are working with large tables. So I ask that you look at the GIF as I'm talking. You can notice in the GIF, it's actually, as it's really kind of like, seems obnoxious table inside there. Well, if you had a normal table or a normal size page, it would not be, you'd have to shrink it down. It wouldn't look very good and so on. So with the pageless format, it just allows you to have a scroll bar underneath it horizontally to give you more space. How do you get it to be a pageless format? You actually have to adjust it in your page setup. You can go to File, Page Setup, right? And then you can see on this screenshot, you would choose pageless. And the thing is, you can go right back to Page Setup and choose your landscape or portrait. This just gives you more real estate. Many of us aren't printing right now. We're collaborating on a document, right? That's the goal of this whole Smart Canvas, right? Is to find more efficient ways to collaborate. Sometimes you just need more real estate. This is what this can do for you. So again, check that out if you're interested in that. We used it for one of our projects in our Google team. So all those updates that I just talked about, not in a demo mode, right? But I promise you, as always, plethora of resources, I've already done so. So on that Google Help website, I talk about the new table templates, the drop-down chips, and I demonstrate this people chip and the file chips, the content chips. So in the checklist, all in this 5-minute video, if you want to check it out and kind of get a better understanding, but that talks about kind of how to actually use it in the tools that we were just discussing. So that just gives you a more of a tutorial format if you're interested in that. And like I said, it's something that more to come regarding the Smart Canvas. So as I mentioned, there are some other things that are coming soon that I don't have any tutorials for. I do have some GIFs that Google has posted, so I have a somewhat of an idea what it's going to look like. One of the things is the timeline view is coming. This is great for a project manager role. Be able to see the timeline. You can see that in Google Sheets. That's going to be an update in Google Sheets. Also in the Google Docs, you can see that you'll be able to vote. So maybe we want to focus on this task in hand, but we really need to vote on this particular thing. So you can do that in Google Docs, and then assign tasks. So again, can you tell like task is going to be a big part of this whole Smart Canvas because you can do a lot with tasks now, both in chat spaces and Google Docs in the future. It's really integrated with Google Calendar. So you can see they're seeing a big picture, right? We're going to integrate all these Google Workspace apps. So I just have to do a plug because that's how I am. But that's the beginning of signing up for the YouTube channel and the community page, because if these updates appear, more than likely I will post it on those two resources, and you will be notified instantly when it happens in our domain. Instantly in pretty much layman's terms, but pretty close anyway. But you know what I'm saying? So with that, let's go to the next page. All right, a few Google Doc updates. Those were kind of regarding to Google Docs, so Smart Canvas absolutely were. But there's some basic Google Doc updates that I want to make sure you're aware of as well. And the next one I get to do is make fun of Google, which is very rare. If it'll go to the next page here. Woo. Well, not this one, but I won't make fun of them on this one. The next one I'm thinking of. This one's regarding to customize tables in Google Docs. So I always find tables kind of clunky to deal with. So my always workaround with tables is always to right click, and right click some more when you're working with tables in Google Docs. The good news is Google Docs has made some ways to customize tables more efficiently. And with that is such as you can pin the table header row. So if you've got a column header, you will be able to pin it so it doesn't so when now you can sort and ascend, so it won't be lost in the mix of the content. You can quickly find they have a new menu option to add columns and rows. So if you were using tables before because you thought it was clunky, kind of similar to what I was thinking it was, it's definitely more user friendly now. And if you want, I didn't make a video myself. This is before we had the YouTube channel. You definitely can check out this guy. He's pretty funny anyway. Learn how the tables work. Anyway, it's pretty intuitive. You'll be able to navigate through it, but notice that Tables has a new sidebar and be able to sort and ascend and pin and all that good stuff. This is the one I was going to make fun of, Google. I don't know why it took so long, but in the last year, we were able to import images as watermarks in Google Docs. I don't know why it took this long, but it did. So with that, now we can import text as watermarks in Google Docs. So you can do both now, images and docs, or images and text. So you can obviously, like the GIF is appearing, like the word draft, you know, confidential, whatever the text that you want it to be, but you can now add watermarks. I have my own theory on why this all of a sudden appeared, but it will probably help with our Microsoft Word files in Google Docs. But with that, you can definitely see the watermarks and add your own. Okay, so I got to pick on John because John knows I'll pick on one anyway. But when this update came up, John's like, Jessica, are you really excited? I'm like, yes, I am really excited. So with this one is the new email draft template in Google Docs. I have a lot of, not so many gifts, I should say. One of them is grammar is not my thing. So a lot of times I'm always starting an email, and then John and Jolene will do their magic. And so I've always used Google Docs to kind of email draft, right? Because, I mean, two heads are better than one. So I would start and get my ideas, and sometimes it's just how I talk too. It just kind of all rambles out, right? And they're got to make it look professional. So with that, I would always start my draft in a doc. Fine, works. We worked it around. Then I would copy and paste it and send it. Now I can actually use this new building block and choose the new email draft template. This will save me lots of time. So now you can see the GIF as it's rolling through. I can actually use that famous @ sign to search for the people I need to send to. So let's say I'm going to send an email to Corey. Maybe they're going to help me send an email to Corey. I can do the @ sign, do Corey, and then I can put the subject in there, and everything above the horizontal line is going to be in my email message. Okay, now I send it to John and Jolene. Proof this before I'm going to send it to Corey. They can actually send it from Corey. All they have to do, or I have to do, is just click on the email app as it's shown in the GIF here in a minute. You click on the email app icon, and there you go. It's going to pull up a preview in Gmail and hit send. This is a great one where you can have a template, and maybe it's every quarter you send it out, and now you just have this live document, and you're changing it, and you have it updated. I mean, this could remove the canned responses or the table templates in Gmail if you wanted to. So keep that in mind. But yes, I am excited for this one. And I have used it. So the other thing is, if you do have a very long Google Doc, such as this example, you can, Google will do its own summaries for you. So many of us maybe are using the outline mode in Google Docs, which I strongly encourage, especially with longer documents. With that, you will now see there's an option to give it a quick summary. You can actually put your own brief summary if you want to, but Google will also help you and uses its artificial intelligence. If you've got the content in there and it's long enough for them to read the content, not read it, but they use their artificial intelligence, they will help summarize it for you. So that kind of helps with your long documents as you're navigating. The other one is to express your authentic self. So in Google Docs, you can use emoji reactions. That seems pretty self-explanatory. You will see the new emoji option where you see the comment. With that, so you can express, you know, I don't agree with that, with a sad face, or a happy face, opposite, right? One way I have used it is case scenario. I'm working on a project and I really don't know how we have it set up on the back end. Instead of putting a comment and saying, please provide feedback, or I don't understand, I just add a question mark in the emoji. Like, huh? What are we doing here? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Question mark means I have no idea. So that's just another way of using it. But again, another way to express yourself and bring some personalization in this very virtual world. So as I mentioned earlier, Markdown can be used. Markdown language can be used in chat, but it also can be used in Google Docs, Slide, and Drawing. This is something I'm challenging myself on because it's not something I use very often. So with that, I created a video to make me learn how to do Markdown. So I would strongly encourage you to do that. But that goes back to the same scenario if you use an asterisk before the word. So if I wanted to emphasize the word John, I would put an asterisk before John and an asterisk after and would bold the word John. Same concept. There's some different ones. You can actually use markdowns for even different headers. So like if you use 3 asterisks, that will go to header 3. So keep that in mind. I don't want to go over that too much. I'm not sure if you guys want to try it out, but again, it's definitely worth the video check out if you want to learn more about markdowns. It's a really good example, and you can practice on your own. Gmail has one big update, so we'll just dive right into Gmail. As of starting June 28th, which is past, some of you may have already noticed it, but we haven't seen it in our domain change yet. It's an extended rollout, so that could be up to end of July. With that, June 28th is when they're saying it's starting. With that, you're going to see by default the new integrated workspace. Okay. You can see a little screenshot. Maybe some of you have already converted it to the new integrated workspace view. I am going to go ahead. This is one of the resources that I think I am going to have to check out because I do want to make sure we're pointing some things out on that. There is a post on here. It goes over all the new integrated workspace view and some of the known issues. So definitely, if you have not converted to the new integrated workspace view, just know in the near future, you will automatically turn to that by default. The good news is you still can opt out, okay? But as we know in a Google Workspace, and we've had other rollouts very similar to this, sooner or later, you're going to have to get used to it, right? So those are one of those, just rip the Band-Aid and give it a wholehearted try, and you might like it. I will be honest, even the Google team is taking some time to adjust to it. Change is not an ugly word, it just takes time, right? So with that, you can kind of see the screenshot. There is a nice little video here as well. As I mentioned, it will be part of your default. It's not something you would have done automatically. It would have done that. One of the biggest changes with this update, though, if you are a right-sided chat person, you no longer get to be the right-sided chat person. You're going to have to convert and be a left-sided chat person. And I was one of them. So, pain on my end as well. But it does take some time to adjust. And then now it'll be on the left-hand side. Be aware of that. The other thing is if you use the column resizer, we do have a GIF here. If you have the column resizer, you will get a blank, they call it a butter bar. You'll get a blank butter bar where all your labels are. You will need to remove that. So we have received some of these known issues, which is very helpful. The extensions we do not support. So that's why then you just have to remove it and you'll have to go from there. Okay. So there's a lot of information here for you regarding that update. But just be aware that you'll know ahead of time that it's changing. It was in our newsletter, but I'm not sure if that got understood. The other thing is drawing. This is not really an update, it's just an updated resource. Drawing is a hidden gem. I love Google Drawing. It's one of my favorite apps. We built the entire Okta website using Google Drawing for the most part. It is not a Photoshop. So if you like, oh, I have to have layers and be able to do all these different things, that's not what Drawing is. It's kind of like a mid-size editor. And Drawing is a way to use diagrams, create flow charts, organizational charts, web buttons, banners, concept maps, you name it. It's inside your Google Drive. It's also inside your Google Docs. You'll notice if you go to the Insert Google Drawing, it's one of those options that you can do. And if you did go to the Okta website or our Google Help website, all those images, as these buttons that you see here, were created by Google Drawing. Okay, Google Drawing is a collaborative tool. And allows you to do some ordering and some grouping and some other things. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware of this hidden gem. And I wanted to make sure that you have some training right here for this hidden gem as well. So this is updating training as of April 26th. So it's not outdated in any shape or form. So definitely check out the Google Drawing page on our Google Help website and check out Google Drawing in Google Drive and Google Docs. Drive has a few updates. Search chips in Google Drives help refine search results. So many of us are familiar with the search chips inside Gmail. So you go to Gmail and you type in a keyword and you see these lovely little search chips appear. Well, you may not have noticed, but Google Drive has the same concept, maybe not the exact same search chips as it appears but it does give you the same functionality where you can filter and manipulate your data that you're looking for to find that particular file that you're looking for. So definitely search tips is a really nice feature as we use more Google Drive in a lot of Google Drive for our storage. This one is exciting. This one is cut, copy, and paste files using keyboard shortcuts in Google Drive. So what this means is many of us in our File Explorer or in any app tool is used to using Control-C, Control-X, and Control-V, right? We're used to using those to copy, cut, and paste, right? Like everybody knows that, right? For the most part, right? So, but when you're in Google Drive, the Chrome web interface, that was not a feature that you could do, which seemed odd, right? So, but now you can. You can actually hit Control X on a file, and then you want to move that file to folder B, you can actually do so with Control X and then using Control V as in Velcro and paste that file in there. Not only you can do that, you can actually copy. So you can copy a file using Control C, and now you want to copy that file into Project B folder. You can copy and make a brand new copy and put in that folder. There's some other shortcuts, such as shortcuts for shortcuts. I'm not joking. There's that. And then there is also, what was it? Oh, Control Enter. You can actually do Control Enter and it will open it into a new tab. So this takes some time and adjustment because we're not used to being able to do that in Google Drive. But if we know how to use it in other apps, it's not going to seem that different. I strongly encourage you to check out the video. There is some other nice little tips in there. I actually had my husband watch this the other day and he didn't know about the shift and the control with multiple files. You can do shift and control and select multiple files. This is not part of the update. That is just a known fact. But that is another great push to watch that video if you're unaware of those two things. The new sharing dialog box, I'm adjusting to this one. It's simpler, they say. With that, one thing I do like about the new sharing dialog box is that the copy link button is very easy and identified. So if you copy the link and you paste it into a different document or into an email, it's easy to find and know what you're doing, what action you're taking. You'll notice that it works exactly the same, so don't worry about the functionality in the sense where like the permissions work the same. Like if you share to a specific person, it's sharing to that person, right? It's just some of the main tabs, such as general access, is slightly different as a header. So just be aware that we're aware of these changes as well. So just be aware that the sharing dialog box is to appear simpler for Google. This one is another one I really like as well. Easily see file locations in Google Drive. This is where people that come from the File Explorer environment likes to see this, right? They like to know where their file is located at. When I train Google Drive, I always say Google Drive in the Chrome web interface functions very similar to what you already know. It's a storage bin, right? Some of the things that always appear in Google Drive, but there was a lot more bells and whistles in the Google Drive web interface. This is another huge enhancement to use the Google Drive web interface as well. So when you actually search in the magnifying glass, as the picture shows, email draft, when you search in there, you will then see a new column new column named location, and that will give you obviously a location where that file that you're searching for. And the best part of it is if I was interested and wanted to go to that particular folder that file is at, it is also a hyperlink and I go directly to that location of that file. I went one step further in the video. I also reminded you of the famous activity window, which is the eye in Google Drive. So definitely check out that if you want to learn more. But I've always used the location in the activity, the eye in Google Drive, but this just does make it easier for you to see when you're searching. And then you can also determine what file you're updating because it's probably in the right location. Forms only has one update, and we'll go over forms. And we're almost done with updates, and we'll go over some questions if there are any. With that, we have an embedded link form chart in Google Docs, slides, and drawing. So what does this really mean? When you complete a Google form, when an end user completes a Google form, it goes into a response chart inside your edit portion of your Google form. So those that have taken my Google form trainings knows that there is 3 parts to Google Forms. And one of the portions of your Google Forms is the edit portion. And in that edit portion is a response tab. In that response tab does have a chart format, just as it shows here in this picture, in this GIF, right? And before this update, if you'd ever wanted to copy that chart and put it in a nice slide deck for marketing material and saying, hey, our COVID responses is this, and this gone down to this, and that form response had the results, right? You would have had to keep copying and pasting each time a response came in. Inconvenient. I ran this myself because it was a static copy, right? It was a static copy. So now Google has given you the capability of providing you a dynamic copy. So you'll notice you copy that chart in your edit portion in the response tab form, and you copy that and then paste it into your Google Slides, for example, or Drawing or Docs, as it mentions in the thing. You will have this option to do as a link chart, a pasted chart, which is a linked object. And when you insert linked objects, you have the option to update when the source, in this case, the Google form, because you're going to have more submissions, will be able to update as well. So nice feature, because Google does a really good job in the response tab in your edit portion of the form of doing the right chart for the right data. And you know it's always up to date because if a new form comes in, it's up to date. This is really streamlining those that want to publish those marketing materials, fill in the blank, into a slide deck or a Google Doc, or summarize it for their supervisor, because you don't want them in the edit portion of the form, right? So it gives you that live data for your end users that need that data. Jamboard, just another tool, a new update resource for you. Recently, I've been working a lot of getting updated resources for our customers. One of them is Jamboard. So we did the Jamboard training the same time we did the Google Drawing. And with that, I cut that video in half and just made Jamboard a separate app inside our Google Help website. And it gives you a lot of templates and a lot of information about Jamboard. So if we're missing that whiteboard integration that you have in the conference rooms, since we're not in the conference rooms anymore, and you're like, I really wish we had more of a brainstorming whiteboard integration, you've got it. You've got Jamboard. It works with Google Meet. It's also a great tool to just collaborate even on a Google Meet if you choose to. And also what I did in this particular training as well is I provided you templates. There's templates out there that you can borrow and how, like a Kanban or so on. So there's a lot of more than just here's how you use the tool. The tool itself is like a 5-minute training. It's really an easy tool. It's just a matter of how can you implement it and use it for your business needs. Google Meet. Google Meet does have live translated captions in Google Meet now, which is generally available. So this probably doesn't apply too much to us. However, meeting participants can translate English to the following languages: French, German, Portuguese, and Spanish. So again, nice that you can do that, closed captions, but then they'll automatically live translate them as well. So if this is something you may need, please know this is there for you. Set up host controls and assign co-hosts in Google Calendar. So this goes back to like 20% of us care about co-host and host controls. Most of our meetings are ran by ourselves and we don't care, and we don't need a co-host and additional host controls. Not something many of us need. However, if you are running a large meeting or maybe more for the public and you just really want to control the environment, you care about host controls and co-hosts. This is also those people that care about comparing from Zoom to Google Meet. You want to know what the difference are between Zoom and Google Meet. This is where this bucket falls into. This is one of those benefits that has been added to Google Meet that might apply in this 20% of people that care, is that you can actually set up co-host and host controls ahead of time. If you're anything like me, planning ahead for a big meeting, this always makes you to have less anxiety and make sure it's as accessible as you at least can do, right? And planning is part of that. And now, if I did this exact thing for John, I made John a co-host in case I couldn't record. I didn't want to have worry about it. I did this ahead of time. So I knew if John got on here, he'd be able to hit record if I was having some technical difficulties or run the meeting if need be. So I did that in Google Calendar, not inside my Google Meet. So you can do those things now in Google Calendar. The other thing is join a Google Meet call from Google Docs, Sheets, and Slide. This takes some adjustment. I think we're all creatures of habit. I join my Google Meets from meet.google. That's how I do it. Many of us will go to our calendar invite, but you now can actually join if you're working on an agenda or a slide deck. You can actually join from there as well. So any Google Doc natives, if for those that are unfamiliar with Doc natives, it's Docs, Sheets, or Slides. You're in one of those apps. You will notice a green icon on the top right-hand corner, the Meet logo. The Meet logo, which is what I should say. You'll be able to join and start a Google Meet from there. And that video, it goes over how you switch from different tabs too. So if you're in Google Doc A and now you want to go to work on slide A, you can actually learn how to navigate between those two as well. So it's a little more in depth in the video if you're interested, but it's definitely there for you. But it is a nice feature if you're working on a big project and you're just inside that doc. Speaking of Google Meet, we're going to talk about content. When you do Meet recordings, chat transcripts, attendance reports, poll and question answer reports, all these things that are listed right here, anything that's tied to a Meet is stored in Google Drive. So if you record this video right here, will go into my Google Drive. Any attendance reports will go into my Google Drive. There's actually 2 folders that go into your Google Drive if you're unaware of this. You will have a meeting recording folder and a meeting report folder in your Google Drive. You have 2 folders inside your Google Drive that Google created for you that ties into Google Meet. Okay, off topic, but this kind of ties to this update. So now Google has provided you a query to help find all those Google Meet stuff, right? Such as meeting recordings, transcripts, right? So we already know all this good stuff goes into our Google Drive. You can now use the query app:/Google Meet as shown on the screenshot, and it will bring up all those things that are tied to a Google Meet. Okay, so be aware of that. That's a nice little feature. It's just another way of using a query within Google Drive to help find your content. The other update on our Google Help website is this kudo goes to Chad. We hosted, we didn't really host, we recorded an updated video on our Google Help website. Security is always a question, and it always will be. And I don't know, just recently in the last year, a lot of people have been asking questions, and I said, hey, can we just create a video and let's just provide them a blanket statement, and this is the information you need to be aware of. So with a collaborative effort from the team, we actually created a Google Workspace security slide deck. Not as technical as you want to think, maybe it is, but it's going to help in layman's terms, basic terms, to understand the security of Google Workspace. Google Workspace, the SKU that we're in is Enterprise Plus SKU, which provides us the most advanced security and compliance controls, okay, with all the collaboration and unlimited storage. It's the best of the best SKUs that we can choose from Google Workspace. With that being said, it provides us really good security as well, excellent security, I should say. So Chad did an 18-minute video, and you might want to check it out. And this is a great, if you ever get a question about security, this is my first response, go here. Then if you have additional questions, we can address them. But this should really answer probably at least 80% of any question that you can come up with. Plus the additional resources that Google has provided, such as Google Works Service Summary, the white paper, and etc. So it's a one-stop shop you can find on our Google Help website. Sheets, this goes back to our people chips, our smart chips. You can now add a people chip in here as well. So you click on the @ sign and you can type in John or Jolene or whoever you need to. But you do have the @ symbol that brings us the people chip. Google Sheets has doubled in cell limit. We were talking about this at the Google user group, and I was like, I'm sorry for anybody that has to deal with a database with 10 million. And a customer of ours says, oh, this is such a good update for us. I said, really? And I said, you really work with this sheet that has 10 million? She's like, yes. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. So anyway, so this actually is helping one of our customers to be up to 10 million. So that's good. Like I said, I wouldn't want to work with a sheet with 10 million, but hey, it's helping one of our customers to expand that. So it actually doubled. It was 5 million, and now it is up to 10 million cells. Slides has one update. This is a pretty easy one. This one, there's a funny story behind this one, but I'll pass on it. But with this one, we now have, when you are used to formerly saw present, this is an older one. This happened like towards December or January of this year, 2021 to 2022. But this one is where you hit present is what you normally do. Now you're hitting slideshow. This is not a very big one, but there was a word change, so you should be aware of it. So there's that one. And I think we are, last thing, sign and subscribe. So there is some news coming down the road about currents. I won't go down there, but that might be subject to change in the future. So it's kind of the reason why we did the YouTube channel, to also provide you that. But this is an opportunity to have that lifetime learner mindset and be informed. So definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, and definitely watch out the welcome video if you haven't done so. And then if you want those future updates to go directly into your inbox, follow the Join Community Currents page. Just takes you maybe 2 minutes to sign up. And then anytime I make a post on the Currents page, you will then get an email. And I promise you, this is not something I'm bombard you with. Some days, some weeks it's 2, some weeks it's 3. Last week I didn't get any. So it just depends on what's going on, what I have going on as well, plus how many updates are actually in our domain. Because this is the beauty. A lot of Google Workspace updates will say extended rollout for 15 days. Well, my job as a trainer is I actually keep track of all those updates. And then I'll say, is this here yet? I just saw one today that we have appearing in our Google Meet. It's finally here, but it was rolled out. It said it was going to roll out 15 days ago, 20 days ago. So I have to keep track of those and making sure they're rolling out and making sure we see it on our domain. So that's why we only post when we actually see it in the state of Iowa domain. So you guys aren't thinking, when am I going to see this particular update? You'll see it when I send it out. Okay. So that's kind of another thing that we try to help communicate effectively as well.